You are listening live to the Southside Heat radio show. Southside Heat streams live every Thursday from 2 to 4 p.m. Central on www.q4.org, iTunes Radio, and the TuneIn app. We're back in the building, the duo together, Clement Townsend, along with Antoine Walker, the NBA champion with the Miami Heat, and NCAA champion with the Kentucky Wildcats. Antoine, you were gone last week, man. Happy to have you back, though.
Duty call, man. You know, duty's call.
You know, I always say you on assignment. That's how I always say. You know, I have a news background, and like when it's two anchors and one anchor is off, they're like, so-and-so has the evening off on assignment. So that's where I get that from.
Really?
Yeah. But you guys...
You should have told them, college basketball season kicked off.
SEC Network?
SEC Network. They needed me when and started back to work. But it was good. We got to get into a little college basketball. We got some heavy hitters in the college game now.
Last week when you were gone, we talked about that Duke versus Kentucky matchup.
I'm so glad I was gone.
I don't know if you want to relive that. But a little bit later on, though, if you want to.
Well, we don't got, but you don't win. You don't win a national title in November.
Right, on the first game.
I'm just letting you know.
Absolutely. And later on, I don't know if you want to get into Zion, because Zion did play on Wednesday, and he put up numbers. I don't know if that's something, we haven't talked about the college part of it.
Athletic talent.
Okay. You don't have to comment on him now.
I like him.
Okay.
I like him, but we can get into that
on the back end.
We'll get into that later.
But first things first, though, we got some birthday shout-outs. I think you got a birthday shout-out. I got a birthday shout-out.
Yeah, my daughter turned 20 yesterday, man. She had a game, too, so it was like the game and the birthday. There's a lot going on. They got killed, though.
Word.
They played Illinois. Illinois is the number 4 team in the country.
Oh, wow.
So they end up losing yesterday, but but shout out to my daughter, man, making me feel old, 20 years old.
Right, if she 20, then it make you feel old.
Hey, you ain't got to get into to put the numbers together.
Hey, do a little quick math, as they say, add the 1, et cetera, et cetera. But
put the numbers in.
Congratulations and a happy birthday to her. Shout out to my wife on the 18th. It's her birthday.
Coming up.
Yeah, I won't say her age.
No, don't do that. She'll be upset at you.
But she exactly double the age of your daughter. So I didn't say her age. Folks just have to do the math on that sort of thing. No. So, no, that's a special one for her. Kind of a milestone. She's looking forward to it. She's going to celebrate, et cetera, et cetera. So, no, shout out to her. I had to do something special. Figure out a little something memorable for that milestone birthday for her.
Yeah, it's a big one for you. Your mind. You need a little expertise. Give you some help off the air.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk afterwards in terms of trying to hold it down.
Okay, cool. I help you out, man. I get no problems helping you out, brother.
Appreciate it.
I am the love doctor.
Are you really?
Yeah, I'm the love doctor.
I know you had that title.
We don't get into that because I tell you a story. Now you want to kind of throw that in there, but leave that alone.
I didn't even say nothing about it. Let's get to basketball.
You said you are, so don't throw it out there. I got some advice for you, big fella. Let's help you out for the birthday.
On the court, though, man, several big stories. Mm-hmm. I was trying to figure out where to start. Some big went down with the Golden State Warriors. You got the beef between Draymond and KD, but also you got Jimmy Butler on a new team. And I think I'll start there because that's the saga that's been dragging on throughout the season in terms of would Minnesota end up trading Jimmy Butler. Tom Thibodeau seemed like he wanted to try to keep him and play it out, but it just got too rocky, too much tension. So finally Minnesota pulled the trigger on a deal with the Philadelphia 76ers. So Minnesota sent Jimmy Butler and Justin Patton to the Sixers. In exchange, Philadelphia gets, Minnesota, they get Dario Saric, Robert Covington, Jerry Bayless, and a 2022 second-round pick. So we actually saw Jimmy with his new team, Antoine, as they played against Orlando. Philadelphia led big in that one, lost the game. When you look at what Jimmy did in his first time out, 33 minutes, 6 of 12 shooting, 14 points, 2 assists. Seemed like he fit okay with his new team in his first time out.
Well, I love the trade for both teams. I thought Minnesota got good value back in return for Jimmy Butler. When you think about an inspiring contract, a guy who's going to go into the free agent market, who's going to opt out his deal, to be able to get a Robert Covington back, who's under contract for the next couple years. Sargis, who's in the contract. I like him. He's the kind of the underdog in the deal. So I thought they did a good job. And it's funny, you know, I always say this when players always think they know where they're going. Remember that wish list he threw out there?
Oh, yeah.
And remember I told you he won't end up at none of those places.
Didn't happen.
But for Philly itself, I think this is a great gamble by Philly because they already have their foundation built. They already have their two superstars where they're going to build this team around. This is an opportunity with a wide-open Eastern Conference. With LeBron James leaving the Eastern Conference, everybody believes they've got a shot to go to the finals. And for Elton Brand to make this first move as GM of the Philadelphia 76ers, I think is huge. To bring a guy of Jimmy Butler's caliber to your team, a two-way player, a guy who's played in some meaningful games in the playoffs, a guy who can defend multiple positions, I think it's going to be great. If it doesn't work out, you know, so be it. He goes on. Your core is still intact because you still got Markelle Fultz. You still got your two superstars.
But the fact that you gave up a Sarge and a Covington, you gave up two starters and he walks.
They can be replaced. I mean, I like Robinson Covington. He's a local kid from Chicago. He's one of my guys. But I think there's some other Robert Covingtons out there. So I don't think they gave up much to take a shot to get to the finals.
Wow, I'm surprised to hear you say that because to me, what they gave up indicates, and there have been reports out there that they feel confident that they can sign Jimmy Butler to a long-term deal. And if that isn't the case, I feel like then you lost out. Like it was a terrible gamble if you give up those guys and only rent Jimmy Butler for a year.
Well, I think they got a shot. I think what Jimmy Butler's going to realize and this summer is that he's not going to have as many options as he thinks. And if he does have a lot of options, it's going to be a lot of teams with a big question mark to pay him big money and lock him up long term. Maybe 10 teams that want him, but that doesn't necessarily mean 10 teams want to max him out. I think he has a reputation right now around the league of not being a good teammate. I've said that publicly, that he's a locker room killer. He's not a great teammate. I listened to his press conference, and he tried to say he's a good teammate. You know,
you disagree.
I disagree. And I think that's known. I think obviously the way he handled this situation with Minnesota, teams and GMs will be very nervous, sitting out games, deciding when you want to play, didn't come to training camp on time. Just all those things. These GMs and owners stick together. And once you start getting behind closed doors and they get to talking, the real truth come out. Publicly, you may never hear these things, but the real truth come out. And I think Jimmy Butler's put himself in a box right now. Things need to go well in Philly for him to have the type of free agency that he wants to have. They need to make a deep run.
Okay.
He needs to play well for him to be one to sort out the free agents, I think, next summer.
So I'm assuming if you were Elton Brand, would you give him the max deal? Philly will be the only team that can offer him the 5 years. They can give him 5 years, 190. The most another team can offer him is 4 years, 141. If you Elton Brand, would you give him the 5 or would you try to keep him for the 4? Because they don't have to give him 5. They can say, we're not going to give you. Because I wouldn't give Jimmy Butler 5 years.
I know. It depends on how this situation goes. If I'm Elton Brand, I'm monitoring it very closely. And it's not so much obviously the basketball is very important, but I want to make sure that he's the right fit for my young guys. You're talking about two guys that you can, next 5 to 7 years, you can build this franchise around Embiid and Ben Simmons. So you don't want to have a guy that's going to stop their progress. So I'm taking the gamble this year, bringing him in, seeing if we can fast forward the process. But if it does not work, I can get out this situation. Well, Jimmy Butler's going to opt out his deal anyway.
Right.
So he'll be able to get out this situation. So I think it's something that Elton Brand, I'm more worried about his locker room, how he's going to handle himself in the community, teammates, coaches. I mean, I'm looking for all those things.
But would you give him 5 years?
Depends on how things work out. You got to give a guy, if he goes there and he averages 20, 25 points a game and is the main reason why they get to the finals, it's going to be hard not to give him that.
Okay.
With Philly, it'd be hard not to give it because obviously if you get to the Eastern Conference Finals and you're playing for championships, then it may be worth the gamble.
Certainly, Jimmy, 29 right now. You give him 5 years. You know, it puts him at 34. The one thing we know about Jimmy, he plays heavy minutes. You know, those days in Chicago, he was averaging 39 minutes a game, 37 minutes a game. Talk to me about the fit, though. So now that they got Jimmy on the team, that means Markelle Fultz is coming off the bench. Certainly, that means Ben Simmons is a guy with the ball in his hands, so you need to play Jimmy off the ball a little bit more. One thing, when you dive into the numbers, Jimmy has 6 field goals made. 5 of those were assisted, so that means he was playing off the ball, had some nice cuts and things of that nature. He was moving without the ball well. I feel like Jimmy can play off the ball. A lot of people are identifying you lost Covington and Sarge, 2 shooters. You put J.J. Redick, a shooter, in the lineup, but you still need more shooting. What are your thoughts on the fit? Because Jimmy, not necessarily the best three-point shooter. He can shoot from deep, but that's not his expertise like a Sarge and a Covington. So your fit on how that actually meshes with what Philly wants to do.
I like their roster. I think obviously they need to make another move. I would like to see another guy that they can come off the bench and get him some production. I love their starting lineup. When you put J.J. Redick in there. Markelle Fultz, you never know what you're going to get out of him right now. Obviously, he's the number 1 pick in the draft. I think we're putting too much stock in him. I think when a guy goes number 1, we expect a lot from him. He's not in a situation where they've turned the franchise over to him and say, hey, look, we need you to carry this. He's playing with other good players. He's playing with 3 other All-Stars. So it's different for him. He has to play a role right now. And I actually heard Brent Brown talk about bringing him off the bench and playing him at point guard, and he's a point guard. So they're trying to find a position for him outside of playing at 2. I thought he was a shooter when he first came in.
Right.
Now they're talking about him being more of a point guard. I think they're going to have to make sure they pick up another guy that can play. See, it's a difference in picking up somebody just to have as a roster spot or a guy that you want as a safety valve. You got to pick up with that other roster spot somebody that can play and give you some valuable minutes. And that's obviously going to be the next challenge for the Philadelphia 76ers. But I like their first 6 or 7 guys. And yeah, also, Clement, we always talk about the bench and all that. Man, when I was 21, 22, 23, I mean, all you got to do is look, man. I averaged 38, 39, 37 minutes a game.
Right, and you always play close to 80 games.
Yeah, and I play all the games. So these guys are supposed to be in great shape. You don't really need no bench. You just need somebody to give you a blow. I mean, that's the way I look at it. When you're young like that, Ben Simmons should be able to play 40 minutes a night. Not saying you want to play 40 every night, but Embiid obviously may be a little different. He's a bigger guy. You may want to keep him around 32, 33 minutes a night.
Okay.
But these guys, young guys, they should be able to play big minutes. So you shouldn't be looking to the bench that much. And then when you get in the playoffs, the rotation go to 8 people.
So for you, depth, because Jimmy has shown the ability to play heavy minutes. So Jimmy, Embiid, and Simmons, young guys, to you, depth is not really a big concern. You would like another shooter, but the fact that you lost a Covington and a Sarge, and we know we've talked about you don't have a Bellinelli and an Ilyasova, the lack of depth, not a huge issue in your opinion.
Not at all.
Wow.
That's not something that I'm concerned with. Obviously, I'd rather just those guys come out and just play, man, and don't worry about it. But I do believe they need to add another player. But I'm coming out playing. This is a young group, and they should want to play, 38, 39 minutes a night and not worry about it. I think this is what Brent Brown has to be creative. And sometimes when you have lack of depth, you figure out ways to get your good guys a blow, your better players a blow. That may be taking Jimmy Butler out with, 5 minutes to go in the first quarter, then bringing him back, playing him with the second unit. Or maybe Ben Simmons playing with the second unit. So you try to mix it up with your guys to figure out different rotations to make up for that lack of depth. Every team not going to be able to go 10 deep.
Right.
And play 2 units.
Everybody not the Celtics.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to do that. I mean, that's great to have. I mean, you look at Golden State. I think Golden State is not as good as they were in previous years when you think about their bench. They do got some young pieces there, but I think Steve Kerr does a great job of Clay. If you watch them, Klay Thompson goes out early. Okay. Klay Thompson's a main guy that plays with that second group. So that's an opportunity for him to get off and have some stability on there. So you just got to be creative as a coach. But I like what Philly got right now. They got to be the favorites on paper.
The favorites for what?
In the Eastern Conference, to win the Eastern Conference.
The way that Toronto has started, with what we've seen from Kawhi and Kyle Lowry leading the league in assists.
They lost last night. Toronto lost last night.
To Detroit, I believe it was?
Yeah, at home. So, I mean, it's supposed to get out to good starts. I mean, nothing wrong with getting out to a good start. But I think with Philly, you get this group 15, 20 games together. They played well last night, just blew a big lead.
For sure.
But when you put 15, 20 games together with those three guys in the Eastern Conference, they become very dangerous. They become very dangerous.
Certainly going into the season, we all felt like Boston was the number one team in the East, and they struggled. They got off to a slow start. I mentioned what we just seen from Toronto. Even though they lost to Detroit, Toronto still 12-3. You saying on paper, but right now, just with the Jimmy Butler addition,
I'm going by what they're playing. Jimmy Butler, I mean, we got to be honest, was playing pretty solid in Minnesota. The games that he did play.
Oh yeah, he was after about 23, something like that.
So he still is playing. Embiid is top 3 candidate for MVP right now. Ben Simmons is having another very productive year. J.J. Redick is shooting the basketball like we've seen J.J. Redick do in the past. So they have everything rolling right now. So it's hard-pressed for me not to believe that they're going to be one of the teams that's going to really challenge to win the Eastern Conference. Does that make them, better than Golden State? No.
No. But in the
East, they have a legitimate shot of winning the Eastern Conference now.
Okay.
They are on the same playing fields with the Boston Celtics and the Toronto Raptors.
And where you put Milwaukee in that mix?
I like Milwaukee. Still not sold 100%.
So you think they like in a tier below? You think it'll be Boston, Toronto, and Philly in like the number one tier, or you put Milwaukee in a different tier than those three?
I think it's a 3-team race, and I know Milwaukee got to a great start. But I think it's a 3-team race with a team wanting to avoid playing the Milwaukee Bucks.
Okay.
I mean, you would want to avoid them, but I think it's a 3-team race the rest of the way out in the East, and it's going to be exciting, I think, once those guys get some games under their belt.
When I look at the schedule, the next 5 games, Philly has 4 out of the next 5 games at home, so that should bode well for Philly. I mean, the loss to Orlando is bad, but Philly has struggled on the road all season. They dropped to 2-7 on the road, so they were bad on the road.
Jimmy will get better. They'll be able, having a guy like Jimmy Butler, they'll get better on the road, especially late in games. I know they lost that one last night, but they'll get better late in games, and obviously Philly's going to always, to me, be a great home team. But I'm going to tell Jimmy Butler this, and this is words to wise. I played for the Boston Celtics. I played for diehard fans before, people that love sports. I know he played in Chicago, and I'm from Chicago, but Chicago fans are mild.
Okay.
They don't really boo you. They don't really get on you. He go to Philly with that attitude, he will get ran out of town. Now, Philly fans appreciate hard work, diving on the floor, a guy that's all about team. Go watch some Allen Iverson films.
Yeah.
And that's what Jimmy Butler. He don't need to have no negativity coming out that locker room up in Philly, or it'll be a miserable time there for him.
So do you expect him to play nice? Because, you mentioned Markelle Fultz and, him being the number 1 pick, and now he coming off the bench. We know the issues that Markelle has had with shooting. We know that Ben Simmons doesn't stretch the floor and shoot a lot of jumpers. I wonder if Jimmy's patience might wear thin, or will he be able to keep his temper or his feelings under wraps, because so much is at stake, as you saying, contract year for him. You don't want to rock the boat. Do you expect Jimmy to curtail who he is, for the sake of the contract and everything? How can he fit in? He hadn't fit in well in Chicago and Minnesota all the time.
My thing with Jimmy Butler is that, listen, and he needs to be very cautious on how he carries himself. I'm assuming if he wants to get another big deal, he says he wants to win, because I don't necessarily believe that. Everybody wants their cake and eat it too. I mean, we all would love to have that. And obviously that's something that Jimmy Butler is seeking out, to be able to have his cake and eat it too. But I look at the Minnesota situation, it's kind of like, if you really think about it, it's kind of the same situation I was in Philly. Two young stars on the roster already. You probably say Embiid and Simmons are a little bit better than Wiggins and
Towns.
But
Absolutely.
But it kind of got the same little feel.
I see where you're going.
Yeah, same little feel to it. So you're coming from that same situation. Obviously, he was a terrible locker room guy for those two guys. When you talk about the outbursts and things like that we've seen publicly of him having with teammates, and then him just coming over the summer and saying he don't want to be there. Because let's be honest, Minnesota did their due diligence. Minnesota offered him a 4-year, $100 million extension, so they wanted him to be a part of it. He turned that down, did not want to be there for whatever reason, because he says about winning. But if you're playing with two young stars and you in Minnesota, and when you was healthy last year, y'all went the 3rd seed in the West, you would think that he would want to stay there. But now you get traded with two other young guys that are trying to build and their organization. You got to be cautious there. Like I said, Elton Brand and the Philadelphia Sixers staff, organization is going to have to monitor this situation. And you flirting with fire. I think Jimmy needs to make sure your reputation is everything. You're searching a big contract. You want to play in a big city. You got to watch it, man. You got to make sure you do the right thing.
One guy that we haven't talked about for Philly that you really like going into the season is Wilson Chandler. And he did start, in the game where Jimmy Butler played. He missed the first few games of the season with a hamstring injury. I think missed like the first 9. Only played in like 5 games. But he's a guy, when healthy, that should, add some scoring punch. A guy that's kind of long and that can kind of help them out. And they haven't been able to have his contribution because the hamstring has really hindered what he's been able to provide.
Yeah, I know that. And I am a big fan of Wilson Chandler. I think this might be a test. Obviously, he's starting now, so obviously he needs a little bit healthier. He was a guy I thought they may use coming off the bench.
Right.
The kind of guy who's a proven scorer in this league. But he could be a big part. He could be the X factor if he can get healthy. Not having the full training camp, and so this is another situation where we might have to wait 15, 20 games.
Okay.
This may be a process where with Philly they got to just fight through it. Like you said, they got a nice stretch coming up at home where they could kind of,
get on the same page.
Yeah, get 4 or 5 games, get some quality practices in, get some sets in where Jimmy gonna be effective with this group. And that's the good thing about the timing of the trade, is because you always like to make times of the trade when you got some time to work a guy in. But I do believe Wilson Chandler could be an X factor. I really do like him a lot. Obviously, he has to get healthy. So we may have to revisit this Philly team and evaluate them. The proper thing for them is probably going to need to evaluate the 76ers to about 30, 40 games in.
Okay. You think
and
it's
see
going
what
to
they
take some
at.
time?
Yeah. I mean, we're 15 games in, 16 games in. Let's tackle another 20 games and then see where they at.
When I look at the next 5, home versus Utah coming off of getting destroyed. I don't know what happened in that game. They lost to Dallas by 50. That thing was crazy.
Yeah, I didn't understand. I just looked at the score and said, wow.
I'm like, did Donovan Mitchell play? Yeah, he played.
They all played. And the crazy part about that game, they only hit 12 threes.
Dallas only hit 12 threes?
That's it. Like, usually you see a blowout like that.
Right, like they were on 18, 23.
They only made 12 threes. I was like, wow, only made 12 threes. It killed them.
So home versus Utah, road versus Charlotte, home versus Phoenix, the Pelicans, and the Cavs. So 4 out of those 5 games at home, and certainly you think Phoenix and the Cavs, those get right games right there for Philadelphia. So I really expect them to pick things up, as you mentioned, during this stretch at home, and we'll see. Jimmy wanted out. Jimmy finally got out. On the back end, though, we have to talk about Minnesota. I don't want to get into that part right now, but we have to talk about the impact on Minnesota. What do we expect from Karl Anthony Towns now that Jimmy Butler is gone? What do we expect from Tibbs? And I want to talk a little bit more about the Minnesota side on the whole back end. But that and more to come on the Southside Heat. Ahead, Draymond Green, Kevin Durant, they got beef. Could this be the beginning of the end? Is there a chink in the armor of the champs? Stay with us. Southside Heat. Coming right back. You text me? You text me?
That's what I'm doing now.
Yeah. I didn't want to get into the
I told him, I said, we just want to, you know what I mean? We start off with the Draymond stuff, talk about him a little bit before we go ask him about Cleveland.
Okay. I want us to get into that long form too. I mean, we can.
Depends what they want to say. You know how these guys is, man.
Right.
But I just said we start off, easy to the basketball and then ask him about it. Something pop up when somebody called in, right?
Yeah.
It is what you said. I don't know. Text. You said okay.
All right.
Let's see.
Yeah, good. SouthSideHeat, Clement Townsend, Antoine Walker. Be sure to follow us on social media. C Townsend TV on the gram. C Townsend TV on the gram. Also follow Antoine Walker. That will be Twan Walker 8 on Instagram. Twan Walker 8 on Instagram. We're pleased now to be joined by a special guest, 10-year NBA veteran, third in the NBA in three-point field goals made in the 04-05 season, 225 three-pointers, was just an awesome three-point specialist. Out of the University of Houston, Damon Jones on the line, former assistant coach with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Damon, thanks for being with us.
I appreciate you guys for having me.
D. Jones, what's up, baby? How you doing?
What's up, Twan Walker? How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing great, man. Thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
It's all good, man. I appreciate you guys having me.
So, Damon, it's been a little over 2 weeks since things transpired there in Cleveland. What have you been doing to pass the time? Have you enjoyed watching the NBA? What have you been doing spending your days?
Well, just watching a lot of basketball, keeping up with what's going on around the league, just to stay abrupt and knowledgeable on what's going on when the next opportunity comes.
D. John, we got to get into it, man. We held this off. We didn't even start our show off, but we got to get into it. We got to talk about this Draymond Green and KD, man. We got to talk about it.
Right.
Just your thoughts, first of all, on the situation and how things kind of transpired, and then kind of go further down. Did you think the Warriors handled it right? Being you've coached the last couple years, you've been in those situations, and we know you've seen some heated situations in the locker room. So just give us your opinion about that.
Well, I don't have all the information on what transpired in the huddle between Draymond and KD, so I can't speak to that part of it. I think that the Warriors handled it well by suspending Draymond for whatever he did, but it's an unfortunate situation, but it happens in team sports sometimes. Emotions boil over, but I think they're going to do a good job in handling it and putting it back together and going forward and being the great team that they are.
Let me cut in on that. They don't. They did not handle that. They did not. The Warriors did not handle that right, and you know you did. You know they didn't handle that right. How could you suspend the guy? You played the game. It's just like, okay, if I do understand where Kevin Durant coming from. You get to go off the glass. His job to score. He the man on the team. He get it off. I don't really think Draymond was trying to be like, I'm finna go score. I'm finna just take the ball out of KD's hands. I think that's just I think he gonna come down. I mean, get the rebound. He gonna try to make a play.
Right.
And he just lost it.
Lost the ball.
So now I know they get heavy into the locker room. I've heard the comments, read all the comments. We use that 5-letter word that everybody.
The female dog.
Yeah.
Don't be calling me that. Don't call me that.
Is that word? That's
a tough word to use.
A very tough word to use, but.
Tough word to use.
But you know that we've been in these situations before, and we've seen this a lot of times. The management don't get involved, and you know that. You know the management don't get involved. They try to get obviously want their situation to calm down, but you never really see management get involved and suspend one player.
No pay.
And take a paycheck away.
$120,000.
Right.
Gone.
Right.
So you know that. Now that's not like. Do you believe the Warriors the organization should have got into it? They didn't throw no blows.
No.
It ain't like he hit them.
No. But they said some of the comments were out of order. Go ahead.
Well, like I said, I don't know what happened in the locker room. I don't know what words were said or what transpired. As an organization, they felt that they had to do something in that situation. I mean, Draymond has done that, his whole career in Golden State. That's, get the ball off the backboard and push it. Did he have malice intent behind not passing the ball to KD? I don't think so. Okay. But for whatever reason, it blew up the way that it did. They just have to put it aside and play basketball because there's a lot of basketball left. And, if they aspire to win another championship, they need both guys being on the same page at the same time. So they have to get through it. Is it a tough situation? Probably so. But, team sports, it's not always, peaches and cream. You have some rocky moments. And I think that the teams and the organizations that are able to fight through those adversities, and I think they'll be right there to win it all.
I'm glad you said that there are rocky moments on teams. Give us an example. We want you to be open with us. This is the SouthSideHeat. We like to keep it real.
SouthSideHeat.
SouthSideHeat.
You're going to have times where, over the course of 82 games and 6 or 7 months together, it's not always going to be, happy times. You're going to have some rough moments. You might lose 3 or 4 games in a row. But, I think if your leadership is strong, then you're able to get through those adversities and pretty much get to the place where you're trying to go from the start of the season. That's an opportunity to win a championship.
Who was the guy that you played with? You were on several different teams, whether it was Miami or Cleveland or, Vancouver, or you were on several different teams. Who was the guy in some of those stops that that would verbally let guys have it, that would call them out? Who was that guy?
Man, like you said, I played on so many teams. It would take me probably 10 to 15 minutes to think about it. But, I did play in Boston with Antoine, and he was one of those guys that,
Antoine would get on folks like that?
Always talking smack,
Be careful, DJ. I'm the reason why you play in the NBA. Now, be careful. Be careful now. I'm the reason.
You're the reason why what?
Why you was in the NBA? I put you on the Celtics. I got you on the team.
Man, that's a myth, man. You keep telling that tall tale every time. People are going to start believing that.
D. Jones, you came on team. I was like, man, look, just get up under my wing. I got you. Coach P, my man. I'm going to make sure you good. I took care of you, big guy. There's nothing wrong with me taking care of you. One thing you're supposed to do is take care of a friend. I took care of a friend. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
At the end of the day, I came in and did what I had to do to make the team. If you had some type of influence on that, I appreciate it. But, from my understanding, the way that I shot the basketball and the way that I defended, got me that opportunity.
Your skills and not Antoine's influence.
Hold on. You said the way you
I mean,
did.
his influence probably had a little bit to do with it, but I mean, my play and what I did on the basketball court had more to do with it than his influence. Put it that way.
So let me ask you a question. So you telling me your defense was part of you making the team? Because you were never no defender.
Well, my defense when I first came to the league was the reason why I got the opportunity, because I was picking guys up full court. And over the course of my 12-year career, you guys got it wrong by saying 10, but I let you slide.
Oh, my bad. Hey, get us right. Get us right, though.
As my career went along, I became a better shooter over the years, and, that's how my career ended, as, a guy that could shoot the basketball a little bit better than my defense was when it ended.
Okay, that's the politically correct answer, but you never was a defender. But that's cool. I like the fact, I love the politically correct. I could tell you.
I was at the front of the press, Twan.
I understand that, but I could tell the way, the last couple of years, now you've been a, NBA coach, and you happen to have the floor and talk to them. Your politically correct answers are great, but you never was a defender. Let's not go get past that. But I mean, that's
I was a defender my first 3 years in the league, and then I became an awesome shooter, extraordinaire. I should say.
A shooting what?
Shooter extraordinaire.
Well, you might as well. Do you think you're a better shooter?
There's 3 levels to shooter.
Do you think
shooter,
right.
Shooter deluxe, shooter extraordinaire. Twan, you're more on the shooter because you were volume.
I'm what?
Volume. You heard what the man said.
You're a volume shooter.
I can admit that I'm a volume shooter, but were you a better 3-point shooter than me?
Was I a better 3-point shooter than you?
That's
not even a question that we ask on SouthSideHeat. That's why you guys brought me on.
I like where this is going. Where this is going.
You believe you're a better shooter than me. Be honest. We've had these discussions. We on the show right now, but we've had these discussions privately too.
Huh?
We've had these discussions privately about who's a better shooter. Huh? So who's the better shooter between me and you?
Of course, I'm the better shooter.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I'm a way better shooter than you.
Now, what's the 3 things about a shooter? You said it's a shooter what? Supreme, deluxe?
The shooter deluxe, shooter extraordinaire. Yeah, I'm a shooter extraordinaire.
Wow.
Who else falls into that category?
Yeah, who else in that category with you? Will you just name a couple names, just so I know when you're...
Shooter extraordinaire?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that's easy. I mean, Steph, Ray, myself, Reggie.
Does Kyle Korver get in that category?
About 3-point shooting, all those names, they go together.
Does Kyle Korver get in that category?
Kyle Korver's up there. He's up there.
Is he extraordinaire or is he deluxe? What category does he fall in?
He's extraordinary. He's extraordinary.
So is it safe to say that you're saying that you're one of the top 10 shooters of all time because you named?
He said Steph. He
Steph,
said Ray.
Ray. You put your name. You put yourself in the category with a lot of top shooters in the league.
Well, I mean, it is what it is, and I'm just saying that that's what we do. We shoot the basketball, and that's what we're known for. Those guys are known for some other things as well, but when it comes to 3-point shooting, we're all in the same boat.
You just gonna let her? You like I can't take this, man. I can't believe he's saying this.
Let's switch gears though, and let's talk about your former team, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Certainly, I don't think things ended the way you would have hoped with them making a change this early part of the season. What are your feelings on how everything went down?
Well, I mean, it's a tough situation. You lose the best player in the world, and the team or the organization decides to go in another direction, and it was a call that they had to make. Not upset at the organization at all for how it ended. It's a business. And we had a great 4-year run going to the NBA Finals every year and then winning the championship in 2016. So I'm very appreciative of those guys for giving me that. opportunity to start my coaching career and be part of a good franchise.
Were you shocked though? And like you just 6 games in, I mean, you can't really make any determinations. It's really hard to make any decisions. 6 games into the season, like the I don't know how short the leash was.
Well, I mean, it's a decision that the organization wanted to make, and it is what it is. I can't go into their mindset on what they were thinking about, when they made the move. But, like I said, I'm very appreciative of the opportunity that I was given, and looking forward to my next opportunity wherever it is.
D, let's talk a little bit. You had a great opportunity, obviously, the last 3 years to be around, and I know he was already a good friend of yours, to be around LeBron James. A lot of people don't know, how that feeling is to be around the best player in the world and to have an opportunity to coach him and motivate him. Just talk about a little bit on how LeBron kind of separates himself from other superstars that you've been around the league, being around him every day.
Well, his work ethic is something that, I think people talk about all the time, but I don't think they really realize how much he puts into his body and into his game on an everyday basis to get the results that he's getting, game in and game out and year in and year out. And it's awesome to, just be around greatness. And he's, back-to-back games, he's coming in the next day and, getting the lift in and working on his game. And it's just an awesome experience being around him as long as I have. And just like I said, being around greatness.
The second part of that question is, obviously you didn't feel good about the move because you guys, that's that second part of that question, obviously you don't feel good about that move, about him going to L.A., but just personally for him, did you think that was a good move for him when he picked in L.A.?
Well, I like every decision that's made, you have your pros and your cons, and he sat down and evaluated those pros and cons, and he made the decision to go to L.A. and it started out a little rocky, but it's starting to turn around, and he's starting to play the way that he's capable of playing. And I think being around those young guys and those guys seeing him work on an everyday basis, it's going to help those guys in the long run, and I think they're going to be right there in the Western Conference to do something special. And one thing I would never do is bet against LeBron James in anything.
There's a perception that LeBron just has a huge influence on, whatever franchise he's with, whether that was Cleveland or Miami. There's a perception that, he's kind of the coach because he is a superstar player. Can you debunk that? Is that accurate? Is that inaccurate?
He's never wanted to coach. He's never wanted to be the GM. He's never wanted to do any of those things that everybody say that he does on every team that he goes to. He just wants to, be the best player that he could be, and he wants to lead the team. And I think it's unfair, not only to him, but it's unfair to the coaches as well as the GMs that he's been with that, kind of get the bad rap that LeBron's running everything, because he doesn't want to. He just want to go out there and play as hard as he can, and, at the end of the day, win as many games as he can. And, he's, like he's saying, striving for greatness every single day, and, that's why he's been able to go to 8 NBA finals in a row.
Yeah, it's probably going to be done now. It'll probably stop at 8.
Well, we don't know. We don't know what the future holds. Like I said, I've seen LeBron do some amazing things for a long time. And one thing I'm not going to do is bet against him in any scenario, any situation. So until he's out of the playoffs, anything is possible.
Yeah, I know it's early. And you said in the beginning you just been sitting back kind of watching the league right now. Any team or, give me one team in the East, one team in the West that has really surprised you and has got out to a great start, and who you got winning it?
Wow, man, I'm very excited about what Toronto has been able to do. You know, losing DeRozan, but bringing in Kawhi Leonard and you know those guys being able to mesh and getting off to the good start that they've gotten off to. They're going to be a tough out because they have a lot of good players, and you know you have your superstar guys and Kawhi Leonard and you know Kyle Lowry, and then you have other players that are you know really good and versatile, can play multiple positions, and so I'm excited about Toronto. And in the West, you know you can't go past you know what Golden State does on a year-to-year basis. You know, it just seems like they just get better and better with you know the way they run their system, and you know they brought in some young talent that's helping them right now, and down the road that experience that they get right now is going to help them come playoff time. So I see Toronto in the East, and you know I'm not betting against the Lakers, but you know as of right now I see Golden State in the West. I see eventually Golden State winning it all again.
Mm-hmm. So, Clement, you don't know this, so you know D. Jones is one of my main guys, my boy.
I do know that. I see y'all hang out before when Cleveland came to town. Yeah. He hung out when we used to film the show back in the day.
Oh, yeah. So, you know, back in the day, you know, when we was younger, you know, we was messing around. And, you know, D. Jones, you don't know this, but you know, like, we talk about relationships every now and then on the show. You know what I mean? We get into this.
Okay.
I hope you're going where I think you're going.
Well, I'm just trying to let D. Jones know that I know I don't know if he's just necessarily a listener every week of Southside Heat. So
Okay.
I'm just letting them know we do a little bit more than sports.
Right.
But
Right.
I need you, D. Jones, to let my co-host know that I am like the love doctor. Like how much advice I done gave you throughout the years dealing with the women that we've dealt with. How good am I as far as helping you out?
You've never helped me as far as relationships. You do a lot of talking, but I mean, I listen just out of respect of our friendship and how close we are, but I never take any of your information to heart because, you know, how can you help me with my relationship?
Well, I'm the love doctor. That's just what I do. I mean,
that's fine that you call yourself the love doctor. And, you know, I used to call myself the best shooter in the world, too. So self-proclaimed. So being self-proclaimed love doctor, that's fine. Okay, if people buy it, that's fine. But I don't, I've never listened or took any of your advice on relationships.
So that label is inaccurate.
Well,
yeah, like I said, it's self-proclaimed.
Ah.
So you trying to say that I never gave you solid advice when it comes to dealing with a woman?
No.
Okay.
Straight up and down.
No, I'm just being honest with you, Quan. I mean, you're my guy. We've been together and we've been friends for a long, long time, bro.
I mean,
but, we talk a lot of basketball. We have agreements, disagreements about things that's going on basketball-wise.
We've had disagreements.
As far as that other thing, no.
We've had disagreements about women too, as well.
I don't know anything about that.
Excuse me?
I don't remember any of those conversations.
Do you want me to bring up?
I'm gonna leave it at that.
Don't take it any further. That's what you're saying. Don't take it any further.
That's it.
Don't take it any further.
Okay, I'm just wondering, man.
I thought where you were going, though, since you were talking about relationships, I thought you was going Tristan Thompson.
Yeah.
I thought you were going there.
I was thinking about that, but, he got a little, I know how he is on that mode, but I just wanted to get to, I figured he may give me my props as far as being a love doctor. But that is strong, but, I mean, Tristan is boy, though, so he ain't going to say nothing about it.
He ain't going to say nothing. I mean, we don't have to say nothing bad. Was it a distraction though? It's a lot of talk with Chloe and Tristan, and they in the spotlight, and things in social media. During the playoffs, some stuff came out. Damon, was that a distraction?
No, it wasn't a distraction. I think whatever you do in the confines of your own home is your prerogative and your business. I think when you step on the court in between those lines and you're giving it 110% like you always have. That has no effect on anything. I think that's just a lot of tight-knit group, and, you know, we got to the finals, like I said, 4 years in a row, and won one championship. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, we had a couple bad breaks. In year one, we lose Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love. We come back the next year and win it, and then Kevin Durant, you know, who's arguably the second best player in the league right now, joined a good basketball team, and we lost the last two championships.
So it was a game where he didn't play at all, and a game where he had limited minutes. That didn't factor into it at all. A guy who has contributed on the title runs to not play in some playoff games.
Well, no, that had anything to do with it. That, you know, it was the coaching and matchups and things that we saw as the coaching staff that we wanted to do different. Didn't mean, you know, Tristan wasn't ready to play. It just, you know, at that particular time, we looked at a different lineup and different rotations. But, you know, once we gave him his opportunity again, he took full advantage of it, and he helped us win a lot of games and helped us eventually get back to the finals.
Let me ask you about a guy, Collin Sexton, who the Cavs just drafted 8th overall. You know, there was some talk about maybe management felt like Collin should have been getting some more minutes considering he was drafted highly. And then some reports came out. I don't know. That's why I'm asking you on the coaching staff. There were some reports that came out that just Collin doesn't know how to play the game. Like, you know, he's not really good at setting his teammates up. Some of the qualities that you would hope to have, you know, as a starting point guard. You played the guard position. What can you tell us about Collin and, you know, his skill level and how he might be successful, if he'll be successful in the NBA?
Collin's going to be a good player. And I think the organization did a good job in drafting him, number 8. He's a fearless competitor, a guy that's, you know, plays with a lot of spirit, a lot of energy. I think, you know, all rookies who come in the league, you know, struggle at some things, but I think it's more positive than negative with Collin, and he's only going to grow with the opportunity. So if he continues to get out there and you know, perfect his craft because he works hard every day, I think he's going to be fine. I think the organization is going to be fine in whatever direction that they're going to go in, and they got some really good players over there. And some young talent. You got some veteran guys that, you know, are there that can help the young guys learn because they've been in a lot of, you know, big-time battles. And so, you know, it's going to be interesting to see. But I think Collin Sexton is going to be a really, really good point guard in this league. And, you know, he's going to continue to get better with trial and error.
Did some of the veterans have any issues, though, with his skills?
I don't think so. I just think that it was a situation that, you know, when you're losing, a lot of things festers, and I just think that, you know, he was just going out there being himself, being aggressive, you know, and trying to make things happen for the team, you know, and sometimes, you know, that doesn't always go the right way, but, you know, he's a good kid, he works hard, you know, he plays hard. He never takes plays off, so with that type of attitude and mentality, he's going to be a good player.
D. John, before we go, let you get out of here, just let the listeners know, I know Clement asked you this earlier, but just some of your future plans moving forward. Do you want to stay in coaching? Are you going to go to TV? Are you going to wait and, you know, wait till T. Lue hopefully gets another head coaching job and be on his staff again? I know a lot of guys in your situation usually waits on the head coach who they worked for before to get back in and go back with that coach. So just tell us a little bit about some of your future plans over the next, I guess, year or so.
Well, right now, you know, I'm just, like I said, sitting back and watching the league and seeing what happened. I'm going to pursue some TV opportunities for the time being. And like you said, when Coach Lue resurfaces, you know, we have such a great working relationship as well as a personal relationship. I think that, you know, we work real well together. And hopefully once he gets his new opportunity that, you know, he feels that, you know, I'm an asset going forward as an assistant coach. So I'm going to wait for that opportunity. But in the meantime, I'm going to reach out to the TV networks to get on and do some of that, because we all know, Twan, and you know this more than anybody, I have a face for TV, not radio or podcast.
You have a what?
I have a face for TV, not radio or podcast.
Antoine always talks about his look, so I'm assuming you feel you're a better shooter and you're a much better looking gentleman than Antoine. I assume you feel like you got him beat in both those categories.
Well, I mean, you know, Antoine's good on the radio.
Well, you are polished. Okay. We can say that, though. You are polished. You were polished during this interview. You know, you gave the politically correct answers, and I think you will be fantastic on TV, Damon. That is for sure.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I thank you guys for having me, giving me this opportunity to join SouthSideHeat. I hear a lot about it. I actually read a lot about it on social media, and you guys are doing a great job. Let's keep it up.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that, man. Thanks for coming on.
All right, buddy. Y'all be good.
Yes, sir. That's 12-year veteran Damon Jones. Best of luck to him going forward. So much more to get to on the SouthSideHeat, including Carmelo Anthony as he played his last game in H-Town, and LeBron James moving up the all-time scoring list. Stay with us. SouthSideHeat coming right back.
Let's get to let's do red
and Draymond. Oh, yeah. Like, yeah, he wasn't gonna give us nothing at all. On nothing. on nothing.
Scared.
Nothing on nothing. Like he trying to stay in the league, so he nothing on nothing. I'm trying to keep a job. I'm trying to get another job.
Good job, right?
Yeah, I don't want to say nothing that's gonna hurt my future endeavors. Yeah.
You never know what you're gonna get from these guys. You never know.
That's why I text you, but he ain't give us nothing. I might could squeeze a little Khloe Kardashian or something out there, but he ain't give us nothing. He ain't give us. He was straight down the middle. He was presidential. He was a politician. Like
I wasn't cat and mouse. I could have went to the. I wanted to get on the J.R. Smith thing
with the suit.
Yeah.
I ain't want to be.
Why did you ask that question?
But I was like, I don't think you're gonna give us that.
Yeah, true. Like I didn't want to be the villain. Like I had that on the joint too. I already felt like I'm the villain because you was playing the fun role. Like man, you can shoot. The love is like. So I'm the villain. Collin Sexton. You know what I mean? One of us got to be like that. Or else what we doing?
A good cop and a bad cop.
Right, a good cop and a bad cop. I'm like Collin Sexton. What's up on the Tristan? I wanted to ask about the suit. I wanted. You said you what?
I would have asked about.
But I felt like I already went hard enough. Man, like asking what happened when you got let go.
Man, but you know what's crazy?
What up that suit?
You know what's crazy? They never let go the coach and assistant. They never do that.
Yeah.
I don't know what he must have been too biased, Tigo, because Posey's still on the bench with Larry Drew. Now I've seen them add somebody,
but never subtract everybody.
Two?
Like the whole thing.
No, just two. Him and Lou.
Oh. Yeah.
He'll be all right, though. You get a check this year. Sit at home, collect on the first 15.
I feel that. As long as the check clear. Can't be mad at that.
I need to go on social media. So we got the you got your charger?
No.
Or
I lost the base to my damn charger anyway.
I ain't I let it go with the suit, John. He wasn't nothing on Tristan. I thought you was going there too.
That's why you got to go with the suit.
I mean,
you had to go with the suit. Once you get
to that point. Still, that's unfortunate. That's an unfortunate incident. You know what I mean?
You could have tied the suit in with the Draymond and KD thing.
You could have.
It's called you segue.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I took the Tristan relationship love segue. I took that segue. I ain't take the other segue. I need Antoine to do some lifting. He want to do no lifting. Cat didn't want to do no lifting. That cat didn't want to do no
lifting. Lifting over
Nah, he want to do no lifting. That cat wanted to throw softballs and had me throw all the curveballs. I ain't mad at it though. I'm happy that we got him though.
That's because he wanna go back and kick it and smoke cigars. He don't want to come into town and be mad like I ain't kicking it with you though.
Like bro, don't ask me on your show no more.
Right.
So you can still ask him on. He'd probably be like, man, what's up with that other dude? But then you can always be like, man, that's my guy. You know, that's how he is. Blah blah blah. You can still live. But nah, that was a tag team. Clement, Townsend, and Antoine Walker. Southside Heat. Good conversation we had with Damon Jones. We appreciate him coming on the show. Oh, before I forget though, always got to plug, Antoine. We got that live show.
Yes, sir.
That's coming up in a hurry, December 2nd. It'll be here before you know it, so be sure you come and check out Antoine and I if you are in the Chicago area. Sunday, December 2nd at 7:30, Chicago Theater Works, our first live show. So, I got some questions prepared for that live show, and I'm going to need you to actually give us some real deal, headlines.
You know what I'm doing? I don't even want to know the questions.
But I don't want you to be politically correct. I don't want you to be polished. Like, I need you to let the people, behind the curtain. Can you do that for me? Can you say on the live show, Clement, whatever you add, I'm going to let the people behind the curtain. Like, I want us to really open some things up.
Yeah, I don't have no problem with that. I don't think I asked a politically correct question. I don't have to answer nobody.
True. Like, Damon want to make sure he keeps his good standing with the NBA.
Oh, Damon, yeah, he sounded real. But I told him that's like a guy that was been. You can tell he's been coaching the NBA for the last couple years and has learned to not give the media anything to no sound bites for the media. So he liked the right lessons, but I understand why he's taking that stance. He's looking for a job. Obviously, you don't want to tear down the team that you just left and put that out there. You never know that could resurface, or a situation can resurface with that same team. We've seen that happen a lot, so it's always good to leave on good standing. So I understand that.
Let's dive into this beef that we touched on a little bit with Damon, but we have to expand on it. It took place at the end of the Warriors and the Clippers game on Monday night. Game was tied. Draymond got the rebound, tried to go the other way, wanted to make something happen, lost the ball, turnover. They go to overtime. Warriors lose. In the huddle, according to all the reports, KD was like, "You should have passed me the ball." Something to that effect. And, Draymond was like, "Who the F you talking to?" That's with some of the reports that are out there calling him the B word, as you mentioned. And then that continued on into the locker room, and the reports are that Draymond went at KD in terms of his free agency, challenged him on his free agency, because we know KD signed the 1-and-1. He's got the second-year player option. He's going to keep his options open, and Draymond kind of challenged him on that, and I guess management felt like it crossed the line. You touched on this a little bit with Damon. When you suspend Draymond for one game check with no pay, $120,000, it certainly looks like you taking sides. Like, we choosing KD over Draymond. Draymond, you wrong. And if anything happens, we gonna punish Draymond. And it just kind of seems like if anything would have ever happened, if KD stays and then Draymond wants to get paid, like they would choose KD over Draymond, even though Draymond was there first. But of course, KD, hands down, far and away, the much better player. But I felt like that was real telling, the stance that management took in this situation. And according to reports, though, Draymond did cross the line. We know Draymond can be real aggressive. We know they've had beef before. But according to the accounts, something about this was different.
Yeah, this was a different situation, and I have a lot of thoughts about this. A couple different scenarios. The first scenario, obviously, I believe that, yeah, of course, basketball-wise, Draymond Green is wrong. The rebound situation, he could have easily gave it to KD for him to go, coast to coast and try to make a play. He is the best player on the team. He is your money guy. He is the clutch guy.
Steph wasn't even in the game.
Right,
Steph injured.
I understand where KD's coming from, wanting to try to close that game out. Now, what I don't understand, and this is the weird part, you're 15 games into the season. He missed you. You in overtime. We kind of saw this a little bit. Think about J.R. Smith in the finals with the Cleveland.
Okay.
And LeBron's reaction, instead of his reaction being, it's tied up, let's go win the game in overtime. I felt like KD can address it and be like, yo, why you didn't give me the ball? You can have a couple words back and forth.
Okay.
But for it to linger past that, make me feel like something else is going on. You're not 15 games into the season, 2 NBA championships, and you tripping because a player went coast to coast and missed you one time.
Like it has to be more to it.
It's got to be more to it. So I looked at it from that point of view, and I look at it like this. I had a story. We was in the 2006 playoffs, first round against the Chicago Bulls. Dwayne Wade and Gary Payton. And this is we got 6 minutes to go in the game on the line. GP didn't get Dwayne Wade the ball on a possession. Timeout was called. We get in the huddle, and Dwayne went off on GP. GP went off on Dwayne.
Okay.
Told him, if you ever yell at me or put your hand in my face again, I'm going to F you up. This is prime time of the game, on the road, playoffs, Eastern Conference playoffs, first round. They go at it.
I don't know if I've seen video of this.
If you look at Hard's video,
it's video. It's video of KD and Draymond for sure.
Yeah, but it's definitely art.
I gotta go back to YouTube.
They go at it after
Okay.
the timeout. They go at it. I think we end up winning the game. I know we at least won the series.
Okay.
So after the game, same scenario. GP told him, "Hey, listen, don't you ever."
Like
talk to
he
me like
came
that.
back to it in
Yeah.
the locker room.
But you know what was great? Dwayne Wade is the franchise.
Okay.
They're finna build this around. This is Flash. This is the MVP of the finals, Dwayne Wade.
Yep.
Pat Riley never got involved.
Okay.
Out of respect that it was Gary Payton. And we went on to win the NBA championship. I don't think those guys are enemies.
Okay.
But it was a heated discussion in the playoffs, and it was over with. They got through it. We moved on from it. Everything was cool. That's the type of stuff I'm talking about. So when I see Draymond and KD, Draymond's a guy that went after KD in free agency, told him to come play with you. And this is a one play, 15 games to the season. Y'all go to overtime. It's not like y'all lost the game yet. To jump out into this type of where you take it into the locker room after the game, it's something personal going on there.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that Draymond could be really jealous of. I don't think he would be jealous of KD. But I'm starting to think that people understand. I think, with social media and people starting to read the clips and everything, obviously I think Kevin Durant signed a 1-year deal.
Right.
They understood the first year. You understand that the first year.
You want to see how it goes, right?
Well, you want to see how it goes, and you want to make sure that, they sign Sean Livingston back.
Okay, Andre Iguodala.
Andre Iguodala back.
Gotcha.
So I get it. This summer, you know what I mean? Your comments are like you waiting. Your comments are not about the team. That's won 2 championships.
Right.
In peace final. You still like looking forward to free agency. Like you're
Right.
not, and I think that's what guys are looking at.
Yeah.
KD not saying, "Hey, look, I'm gonna be here." Like everybody knew Steph was gonna sign his extension.
Hands down.
Right now with 2 MVPs and 2 championships, possibly going for their 3rd championship, you would think that KD would be like, "Look, I ain't going nowhere. This home."
Period.
And you can tell that bothers. That's bothering Draymond Green. Like he ain't really in with us.
And it might bother other guys, but it's Draymond's personality
To bring it up.
to voice his opinion.
Now, me and you talked about this, and I'm not like words don't get under my skin like a lot of other people. And I have these real serious conversations with my friends sometimes about that 5-letter word.
Okay.
And I've seen that 5-letter word coming from the south side of Chicago lead to gunplay.
Okay.
That's how strong that word
It can
is.
get real.
I've seen that. And I've had deep conversations with my friend, like, how can a 5-letter word lead you to gunplay? It get that serious. So, if Kevin Durant not going to defend himself, like, the Warriors can't defend Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's a grown man. So if a man's going to call me the 5-letter word 15, 20, 30 times, then we need to address it. Obviously, it's something a little deeper than that. Now, you call me that once or twice, all right, you heated the bridle. But now we got to address that. Because you got to know what? I don't care what Draymond Green does. That relationship is done.
Really?
That's done. Clement.
They've had blow-ups before.
Clement, let's put this on. Me and you, we get into it.
Okay.
And we have a disagreement. But we make an agreement to continue to work together.
Right.
You still in the back of your head over what was said in that disagreement.
Right.
The way we handle it. I mean, what I said personally, you it's in the back of your head. Now I might be man enough to continue to work with you to get my check, but in the back of my head, I'm not messing with you no more. I'm not going to dinner with you. I'm not hanging out with you. I'm not doing none of those things. So you got to put that in perspective too.
So this cannot be repaired, in your opinion.
It cannot be repaired. What was said there? Because let me tell you something. The fact that the Warriors did what they did. See, this is the thing about teams, and this is where sometimes where the coach got to make that decision. You can't suspend one without suspending the other.
Okay.
Because guess what? I'm pretty sure Kevin Durant, maybe Kevin Durant didn't use the same words, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't talking to himself. I'm pretty sure Kevin Durant said something back.
He seems like a guy now. This KD
Well,
that we see on social media seems like he should stick up for himself.
Well, you saw him on the bench. I mean,
Right.
he was talking back to him on the bench.
Right.
So you know in the locker room he was defending himself. So you can't suspend one. Well, I heard I read the reports. Oh, the players were like, oh, yeah, the suspension was cool. No, it ain't. We're gonna suspend both of us because this is Draymond's. This is what Draymond's thinking. I'm an all-star. I'm a champion. I could bring the ball up the court last play. Okay,
Right.
I'm wrong,
Right.
but okay, I made a mistake. I turned it over. It happens. Let's move on from it. So I understand it from Draymond Green's point of view right there. But to go and suspend him is let them know that, look, Draymond, we're tired of your outbursts. We don't want to have this no more. We know he had this outburst a couple years ago with Steve Kerr and where he went at the coach. They internally fined him.
And he was calling the coach that
But
five-letter
guess
word.
what? They nipped it in the bud. With this situation, if I'm Bob Myers, I'm assuming Bob Myers was maybe in the locker room or maybe on a trip. Well, let's just say it was Steve Kerr's decision. I'm gonna say, look, if I'm a coach, I'm gonna stand up and say, hey, look, we leaving it alone right here. Anybody else said anything, we suspend it. Because in the NBA, and people got to understand this for listeners, in the NBA, the way you discipline pros is you take their money.
Right.
So I would have stood like, hey, look, y'all don't stop this right now. Both of y'all, any other word said, we suspended. Once they continue, I'm suspending both. Now, if they stop right there, on the plane, the next place, I'm having both guys in my office together. That's how you diffuse that. You don't suspend one guy, and now Draymond got to sit and live with that.
And on top of that too, even if you felt like Draymond was the aggressor and it may have been his fault, you could have fined him privately, right?
Listen,
right? You ain't have to make a public spectacle or a public declaration that we suspended him.
I gave you once that, and you heard them. I've been in several times. I've never not liked the player.
Okay.
But for my first 7-8 years, I was the main guy. Me and Paul were the main guys that talked. I talked to everybody. I tried to lead by example. I wasn't a perfect practice player. I had to learn this. I told you this. I never liked practice.
Right.
So in order for me to be able to push guys and to stand on guys' neck, I had to practice. I had to show by example. And also, it's a difference. Your coach lays the rules. Everybody has a role. See, this is the thing. Draymond Green knows his role in the court because he plays it very well. Enforcer, dirty work guy, rebound, great passer. He plays his role really, really well. We know that. Kevin Durant's job is to put the ball in the hole. It was a situation where the jobs got crisscrossed.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But if we're teammates and we're rolling together and we 15 games in, Clement, I can't get this man 15 games in.
It's too early.
I mean, I could get mad. Man, I was wide open. Why you didn't give me the ball? You know, I could top you in. Man, I was open wide open. Why you didn't give me the ball? Man, I was going to get tired of trying to make a play.
Right.
It's over with. Let's go win it in overtime. It go all the way to the locker room. It's personal.
But you know they say
And
that's
I think,
Draymond's personality.
And I think the Warriors organization made a terrible mistake suspending Draymond Green and taking it out on him. You suspend both guys. Both guys were arguing. You suspend both guys. I don't know what Kevin Durant said. He may not use the 5-letter word as much as Draymond Green did. And you never know what Draymond Green hit below the belt. But anything basketball-wise, we know he didn't say nothing. Anything. And if I'm KD, my comeback line is, you the one begged me to come here.
Oh.
That's my comeback line. You was on my phone telling me to come here. So I just think the Warriors organization has this thing at a whole nother level. Kevin Durant, we know We know the type of player he is. We know he's always looking for an out. He's a selfish good ball player. He's going to look for the next best situation for him. He needed a way out, and now he's got a way out.
On the flip side, I've heard people say now actually this gives the Warriors a way out to move Draymond, because certainly if you have the choice of whether we're going to keep a guy.
Oh, it's already, he's on the trading blocks already.
Who, Draymond?
Oh, no question.
Because I think you.
I agree with you.
Okay, I think you were just saying though this could give Kevin Durant a way out.
Yeah, because you got to think about it. He got criticized really, really bad for leaving OKC and joining the Warriors.
Yeah.
He took it to heart. We all know that he was
Yep.
very sensitive and emotional, that people did not like his move. He was on Twitter, on all these places, defending himself and his move. So we know that. If they win a third title, and let's say he wins MVP again, how do you leave that team and go somewhere else when the team is intact?
Hands down.
So it'll be hard for him to leave. He couldn't really explain himself why he leave. And then where will you go?
Right, you winning every year. So what you doing?
But I'm going to tell you something. The Warriors organization looked at this, and you just hit it on the head. The Warriors this is the way they can get off Draymond Green. They knew he was good for their team. When you got two light-skinned guys on the team, you need a tough, dark-skinned guy.
Keep it moving, bro.
No, but I'm saying, but no, serious. They knew that. They knew they prior to Kevin Durant joining the team, they knew they had two light-skinned guys. Draymond Green could be kind of the enforcer for those guys. So you got to think about it. Now we can get away from Draymond Green. On top of that, we just built a new arena that we need to fill up. We got to make sure we got our two superstars there, and Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. That thing got way. They let you know, Draymond, we with Buddy. They just basically know we with Kevin Durant.
That's the message that they sent to me. We are behind KD.
We are behind KD, and don't be surprised. All-Star break.
Not this year.
Why not?
Not this year. Like in the off season.
Listen, if they feel like they can't coexist, and if it's tension during the games and beefs and everything like that, they'll make that move this year. You got to remember they got Cousins coming. Remember they got DeMarcus Cousins coming.
True.
Now, if I'm DeMarcus Cousins, I'm looking at this now. The door open up for me.
Y'all didn't have the money before because you were probably trying to think about how can you sign Draymond. But now,
and guess what they saying? We got Cousins fresh. We getting him healthy. He doing everything we saying he doing. He brings us toughness. He brings us the same kind of Draymond Green,
but better scoring.
But better scoring.
Now he's not the assist guy that Draymond is.
No. But he don't assist like him. But he close. Let's not get DeMarcus Cousins twisted here. Prior to his Achilles, we had him as a top 15 player in this league, Clement. You did too.
Oh, he's a much better player, but I think you were saying he does everything.
So I'm just saying, let's put this in perspective now. Draymond, you tripping. Get you up out of here. And they may wait till the season's over with.
Okay.
Let's make sure Cousins is healthy. Let's make sure he's 100%. Then let's move. Now we can move around.
Yeah.
Now let's go. Go ahead, buddy. Kevin, take a little pay cut. We'll sign you and DeMarcus back together.
Because actually, you've mentioned this before. Draymond hadn't been healthy. He's had some issues. I believe it might be like a knee. And I think you're about to say, he actually seems like he's declining.
Because he didn't have a training camp. You know, the one thing about, this new age basketball, if you ever notice, it's a lot of days off. A lot of days off. I'm looking at practice and what guys are practicing in. I come from an era where I played for Pat Riley. You had to wear knee pads in practice. I mean, I'm looking at LeBron. They got their sweatpants on. I mean, they just dummy in plays and getting up shots. I mean, a lot of these teams not even practicing. I know sometimes you soften up practice because of the schedule, but a lot of these teams not even practicing. So, it could be a little different. But this thing just got ugly, man. Draymond Green is going to catch the short end of the stick. And like you say, he could be declining right now. And when they want to blackball you, man, it's easy to do the things that Draymond was doing, how the outbursts, the technical fouls. You can always do that when you're winning titles. But when you're not winning, things can go the other way. And they're still the best team in the league right now. But you can't pick on franchise. You can't pick on the franchise.
When I look at Draymond shooting 24% from deep, and him being able to space the floor certainly is one of his attributes.
Well, it was not really, but he got to be able to make an open three.
And when you shoot 24%, you ain't making open threes. Never was a guy that was super athletic. So if you're not healthy, you get a little bit older. I think he feels a little bit more highly of himself than he probably should.
Well, when you get accolades for winning, see, this is the thing. When you get rewarded for winning, sometimes you feel like you're better than what you really are.
Okay.
And I played on a team in '96, team where 10 of us made it to the NBA. All of us didn't have long careers, but we all made it. And I'm pretty sure all of us thought that we was really, really good. You know what I mean? But and that's what happens. I mean, Draymond Green has benefited from playing with Steph and Clay. They've worked together beautifully, and he's got rewarded for his hard work and being that and I would say utility player. I'll put that on. As being a utility player, a guy that does a little bit of everything, and he fit in perfect with those two guys. So why wouldn't he think he's better than what he is? He's getting tryouts for the Olympic team. He's making he's making all-star teams. You know what I'm saying? So when you're making those things, I mean, people believe that that they're better than what they really is. So I'm not mad at Draymond for thinking that. That's how he thinks. Draymond's that type of guy that's gonna believe that. That he's much better than what he really is. I understand that.
I need to read to you because actually Draymond released a statement on Thursday at the shoot-around, and Draymond said he would not take questions. First public statement about the incident. He said that he was going to speak about it one time and one time only. I'm reading from the statement and I'm paraphrasing. We're moving forward. I don't think that this is a secret. I'm an emotional player. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I play with that same emotion. Sometimes it gets the best of me, but I'm going to live with that. This is the part that a lot of people are buzzing about on social media. This is the quote from Draymond. I read a lot about is this the end of the run, or is it over, or did I ruin it, or did I force Kevin to leave? At the end of the day, as I've said before, whatever Kevin decides to do, whatever Clay decides to do, whatever who decides to do, we've had great years together. I support everybody wholeheartedly, 100%. As a human being, you got the right to do what you want to do with your life. I never question that. When you hear players start to say, we've had a great run, we've had great years together, that's raising some eyebrows or creating some buzz on social media, your initial reaction from hearing his statement, he did not take any questions.
I think it goes back to what you said. I think you hit it on the head. I think Draymond Green is a smart player. He understands that the organization took Kevin Durant's side. He understands by them finding him and suspending him a game that Kevin Durant is more valuable than him. He knows he may have to go somewhere else to play. He's under contract. He's going to fulfill that. But he knows that those guys may want to break up. You know what's crazy about this, and it's funny about this league, and and it's like different things that you kind of want to do as a player. I think one, obviously you want to get in the league, get drafted. Two, you want to be the best player you possibly can be. I mean, you want to be, all-star in this league. And then thirdly, you want to get paid. And then after you get paid, you want to win a title. And it kind of goes in that order. You want to, one, make it to the NBA. Two, you want to be an all-star in this league. Then three, you want to get paid. And then you start chasing titles. With the new collective bargaining agreement, it allows these guys to get all these things in one. Golden State players are getting all that.
Getting paid and getting
They're
titles.
getting paid and getting titles. The fact that you're not happy about that is crazy to me. Like, it's mind-boggling to me as a player. Like, where's your agent, your friends at? Like, what situation are you looking for? You can get paid and win titles. Like, it's a no-brainer to me. Like, it's funny to see these guys, I want to go somewhere else. I want to go there. For what? You trying to go to the club You trying to eat at the restaurant a little bit more often? I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand it. It's crazy to me. So to hear Draymond Green make those type of comments, it's crazy to me. Like, even if you knew this was going to happen, I just don't think that's the right comment is that, hey, we're going to work it out, we're going to figure out, we're going to keep this thing rolling. And leave it at that. But he knows it's coming to an end. So that's why he put it out there, and he didn't have to answer to it no more. He knows it. That's all he knows. When they suspended him, you got to give him a reason why. They're not going to walk up and just say, you suspended. They sat down and told him why. I'm assuming they couldn't take the fact that he continually, the outbursts in the locker room, but I'm pretty sure Kevin went back at him, and they basically told him, you suspended without pay. That's strong. To take $120,000 from me is strong. And you don't take no money from Kevin.
I believe there's some reports out there, though, that he plans to appeal the game check, plans to appeal the franchise decision with the aid of the Players Association.
That's probably true. He may get half back.
Okay.
He may get half back.
But you feel like Draymond's days are numbered in Golden State.
This will be Draymond's last year in Golden State. He'll be going to his last year of his contract. He becomes more valuable and more easy to trade because he only have 1 year left on his deal. They need to play Klay Thompson. They need to figure out how to get Klay Thompson, and obviously they hope to sign Kevin Durant back. And they need to make money. And they're going to probably give Draymond Green away for nothing. They probably were not going to look for equal value. And now that Draymond Green's in the position that they're in, they're going to have to try to figure out how to keep DeMarcus Cousins too, as well, if he can get back healthy.
Do you think that this hinders their title run? Do you think that this beef or tension, because I think we would agree the Warriors right now in a class of their own, a league of their own.
Without question. When healthy.
When healthy.
Yes.
Can this stop them? Or Draymond said, can they beat themselves? Part of his statement was, not anybody else is going to beat us.
They can beat themselves.
Can this be the thing that, stops them from winning again their third straight?
It could be. I'm not saying you got to be best friends. I'm not saying every team has to be best friends. That's impossible. But you have to be able to come to work and lock in. Now, whether or not they can do that, only time will tell. Can you put your differences aside every time you come to work and lock in? I don't know if they can do that. I was a part of a team when I won a title. We were 15 strong. And you seldom didn't see 6 or 7 guys not going to dinner together. I thought that was the reason why we were able to win a title. Even though we had problems throughout the season, we had two players meetings. We got off to a bad start. We were 10-10. They fired our coach after 20 games. Stan Van Gundy got fired after 20 games. Wasn't Stan's fault. I mean, we played a part in him getting fired. Expectation was for us to win 60 games and win the NBA title. We won 52 games and won the NBA title.
That works.
So it's different. So my situation was totally different than this one. I don't know if they can put the differences together. They not coming back from what happened. They're not. If they felt like the words and whatever Draymond used, he deserved to get fined and suspended the game, they're not coming back. Kevin Durant he's not accepting that. It's always in the back of his head. Always going to be in the back of his head that, hey, this dude don't really like me. It's just going to be there. It makes it uncomfortable on the bus. I'm not sure if they play cards together. A lot of people don't understand. A lot of times, what if he was I don't know if he was part of their crew that gambled together. You know what I'm saying? He might be, you got little things that you do. It was like, I had my 5 guys, we played together. We played poker and gambled on the plane together. It was us 5 guys. So if one of us got in a real beef, one guy going to remove himself from the game. And just all those little things.
It's just weird because we normally always play poker and we don't even got a guy.
Just think about, like, on the road when you go out to the club and you're kicking it during the season. Did Kevin and Draymond kick it together? Now they don't kick it no more. What if it was them two and 2 of the young boys? They kicked it. When they came here in Chicago, I saw them out together. Draymond and Kevin were together. I mean, so it's tough. Like, I don't know. It's hard for me to say that this going to work. It could be problems. They may not talk about it in the media, but there could be problems. They are talented enough where they still can win it, because hands down, I mean, especially when DeMarcus Cousins comes back, I mean, they're the best team in the league, easy. It's not even close. So they definitely can win it, but I don't know, man. It's gonna be a long. This happened really early, man. It's a long time. It's like All-Star weekend. I mean, I don't think Draymond's obviously not playing at All-Star level, but I mean, now he's not gonna be on the All-Star team with them. He's made it, last couple years. He won't be a part of that circle anymore. You know what I mean? His play from just from play.
Oh no, his play has declined.
And you got to add, LeBron James came to the
West.
So now it's another guy in your position.
Yeah, it's another.
So he's not going to be, you know what I'm saying? He's not going to the All-Star game anymore. So these are all like little things, you know what I mean, that just add up. And I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. I'm not saying that
they can't win.
They can't win.
Right.
But I've never been on this side of the question this deep. And I've never seen an organization. A lot of stuff internally that happens. And every team I've been on, when you have something serious like this happens, everybody knows to keep it in the locker room. Whether it was fines dished out, whether comments, everything was in-house. But for them to suspend Draymond Green, Draymond Green, they let you know this is Kevin Durant's team. We rolling with KD. You wrong. We try to make sure dudes stay happy.
Certainly they sent that statement with what they did and the punishment they doled out. We'll keep an eye on it to see how it is for Golden State going forward. I'm with you. I still think they win the title. But this gives us a lot more topics, a lot more things to discuss.
I'm interested to see how it work out too. I mean, that 5-letter word tough, and then, we wasn't in the locker room and we just picking that one word out. But man, the suspended man and not suspend both of them.
He had to go deep. He had to go at him.
He had to go deep.
We're going to go to a break. Still to come on the Southside Heat, Carmelo Anthony, are his days done in H-Town? And also, Minnesota, they traded Jimmy Butler. What does that mean for the T-Wolves season going forward? Stay with us. Southside Heat coming right back.
Oh, you ain't got that charger?
Yeah, come on.
Ooh, boy, man, 5%.
I want to try to get in Melo,
Let's go.
Minnesota,
Okay.
and a little bit of LeBron passing up Will
Okay.
Chamberlain. So, you know what I mean? We got to...
Man, that's what he said, huh?
You think he... Like, that was telling to you? That was telling?
Nah, but you know what? It's crazy. Until you start talking, I didn't even think about that.
What? They might trade him?
That they just now they get a chance to get off Draymond. I didn't even think, put 2 and 2. I didn't think about Kevin.
Right.
But they do give him a chance
To get off
away.
Draymond, like, you a problem, and KD is the guy, so you know what? We got to make a choice. And you out of here, dog. Yeah. And you can still get something for him right now.
That's why I said you can give him away. Because you need that 16
Mil.
for next summer.
Right.
So he on the book. So you're gonna give him away either this season or in July
To get your money.
to get the money.
I had a cap.
I mean, he's probably worth the first round pick. He's still in his prime. I mean, he probably still worth the first round pick.
I think he got value, 28. Yeah, he got
I
value.
know. But I'm saying, Golden State ain't got to go out and try to get equal player back.
You don't have to.
Because now you get the 16. Say that DeMarcus don't really. They know it's true saying that DeMarcus somebody gonna max him.
Right.
We don't know what it may be out there for him. He may have to sign for 10, 15 million instead of 25. They may can squeeze that. They may tell Clay, man, we'll keep this thing together. Clay take a little less.
Yeah.
Durant take a little less. Let's give the Cousins.
Right.
They keep their four intact.
Yeah.
Let's keep this dynasty. Let's
Yeah.
keep this
You know what I'm
dynasty.
saying? So they got not, but they got to get.
That'll lead to Draymond Green being like Horace Grant with the Bulls.
Ah.
Like, you know how they do the history now? Like they talk about
Right.
Mike, Scotty,
And Dennis. But like in the
They-
first three,
Yeah,
it was hard.
but
Yeah, Dennis what he
Horace
did.
Draymond Green himself. He's like, all right, I'm leaving. He went to Orlando. He had 2 good years. After that, it was over.
That's what it said. Southside Heat, Clement Townsend, Antoine Walker. Be sure that you subscribe because you never know what guests we might have. Damon Jones, Charles Oakley. You never know, so you don't want to miss an episode. Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast, you can find
December
us.
2nd now. You gotta make sure December 2nd. Don't
Oh
forget.
yeah, that's the live show. December 2nd, Chicago Theater Works, 7:30. Make sure you check us out on social media. Get your tickets. Get your tickets. You don't want to miss that because Antoine said he gonna open up. He
About
gonna
everything.
he gonna reveal some things that we may have not discussed before because I had some questions that I haven't asked before, and this would be the right time to get it in.
Yes, sir.
We talked about Jimmy and we talked about Minnesota, but I want to talk about the flip side though. Where does Minnesota go moving forward? Certainly, you saw them on Wednesday beat the New Orleans Pelicans, so they won that game. You pick up a couple of guys in Sarge and Covington. As it stands, it's still so early, but Minnesota's 6-9. Can Minnesota rebound and make the playoffs? Can Cat step up and be the number one guy who people feel like he can be without Jimmy Butler riding him?
I like Minnesota. I think they cleaned up their locker room. I think now Tibbs, and I like Tibbs. I think obviously he's a little, he gets a little stubborn a little bit with playing time and not using his bench. But besides that, I really like Tibbs as a coach. I think now you've got Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, guys that you've pretty much put $300+ million into to build this franchise around, can now take control of this franchise and lead this team. I think Derrick Rose is having a comeback year, playing terrific basketball. Taj Gibson has always been solid. Jeff Teague has been in and out the lineup. He's been hurt, but we know Jeff Teague has been an all-star in this league. He can get going. My expectations is that they're going to make the playoffs. I like their pickup.
What?
They got a win last night.
They going to make the playoffs. You know how stacked the West is? You know how many teams they got to climb over?
They're 6-9. I think you get his team 10, 15 games without Jimmy Butler. I felt like Jimmy Butler was a huge distraction to their growth and development. And I think now they got a positive outlook. I mean, I think, with Derek having the type of year that he's having right now, if he can continue that.
If he can be healthy, though.
I said if he can continue that.
Because he didn't play in the New
I
Orleans
like
game.
Covington, and I'm sorry I'm pronouncing
Sarge.
Yep. Is his name wrong, but I think he could be an X factor.
Okay.
I like him.
Okay.
So you add him at the power forward spot, a guy who can extend the defense, shoot the three. He's played with superstars, playing with Ben Simmons and Embiid, so he's played with other good players. I believe that they got a chance to make the playoffs. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be a 6 seed,
Okay.
but I think the expectations of this team and the ownership group should be that, hey, we should make the playoffs and with a chance to win in the first round. I mean, they're that talented.
Wow. If like you said, you're not saying they're going to be a 6 seed, so I think that means you feel like they're going to be a 7 or 8 seed.
I just think it's going to take some time. You had to get the cancer out the locker room.
Yeah.
You got the cancer out the locker room. Now you get a chance to get to some chemistry with these guys. And I like the fact that I think Collin Towns is having another all-star year. He's starting to put big numbers up. Andrew Wiggins has shown flashes this year that he's better than last year.
Just flashes.
Just flashes. He's had his moments. But I think that's because of Jimmy Butler. But now, Derrick Rose is, right now, if we had to guess, he's got to be up for top 3 comeback player of the year right now.
Yeah.
So he's in that conversation. You get Jeff Teague back healthy. They've got a good enough roster to compete night in and night out. They're deep enough. I believe they can make the playoffs.
Wow.
And the West is tough.
All that sounds good. I think they could compete for a playoff spot. I give you that. Compete for a playoff spot. But this team's not making the playoffs. This team is not making the playoffs.
We can argue this, and we'll argue this all season long. You told me New Orleans was good. They 6-7 now.
Oh yeah, if the playoffs started, they wouldn't be in the playoffs. And I had Portland not making the playoffs, and Portland like the 2nd seed.
Right, and I had the Lakers the 3rd team, and I don't even know if they're in the playoff spot.
They'll be 7th right now.
Okay, so we both would. So we all over the place. That's what's good about the West. And I think now Minnesota's 6-9. So once they get to 500, get some practices on their belt, he get a regular rotation. I believe the expectations for Minnesota should be making the playoffs again, and and giving some trouble to some of their top 4 seeds.
Let me put this out there. I got this from Mark Spears, so I take no credit for this. Think about what Minnesota has done. To get Jimmy Butler, you traded away Zach LaVine, you traded away Chris Dunn, and you traded away the 7th pick, which turned out to be Lauri Markkanen. You get Jimmy Butler, doesn't work out, you trade him. Now you end up with Dario Saric, Robert Covington, a 2022 second-round pick, and Jared Bayless. I know you felt like the trade is good for both teams, Philly and Minnesota, but when you look at what they gave up, they now don't have, or they didn't get in return a player the caliber of a Zach LaVine, who we see with the Bulls, who looks like he can be an all-star in the East, give you about 25 per night. A guy like Lauri Markkanen, who looks like he could be an all-star. Overall, they lost out on what they end up with if you look at it from that perspective.
I understand the way you broke it down. It does make a lot of sense if that's the way you look at trades. I don't look at trades that way. I don't go back and say this is what they got for them, because what ends up happening at the end of the day is does those guys fit in with what I paid? They decided to build this franchise on Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins, right? Mm-hmm. Both of those guys were number one picks. Am I right? Indeed. So they both were number one picks. So they committed to those two guys. So that's what my concern is. That I committed, and what can I put around these guys to make them successful? I thought they've done a pretty good job of putting pieces around them. When you think of veteran pieces that still can play, with Derrick Rose, the Taj Gibsons, the Jeff Teagues, other world, still can play. Rob Covington's young. You know what I mean? Sargent is young. So these guys are young guys that you can develop along with them. I'm not, Zach LaVine, you're not big on him. We don't know how he's going to turn out.
He has changed my opinion, though.
Okay.
What we've seen this far. So far.
You wasn't big on him.
Indeed. True.
50-50, I would say it's still in the air right now. I'm leaning more to the side that they're going to regret that. You know I'm a big fan of his. I think he can play.
You leaning to the side that the Bulls will regret giving him the money?
No, that Minnesota will regret letting him go.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
So
for sure.
with him. So I'm kind of going down that marketing coin toss. I mean,
good rookie season though. Very impressive.
But you never know. I mean, you don't know if you're going to take him anyway at 7. You don't know if you're probably not going to take him at 7 because you got Karl Anthony Towns.
Right. That pick might do something different.
You might do something different at that spot. Chris Dunn hasn't 5th pick in the draft, hasn't
lived up to that.
Have lived up to his expectations. I'll take Jeff Teague and Derrick Rose right now over Chris Dunn.
Derrick Rose averaging 20 points a game.
Yeah, so I'll take that right now. So I look at it and I understand what you're saying. I think on paper right now it looks like Minnesota did a whole lot to get Jimmy Butler.
Right, and you took a step back when you look at how they end up.
I think we have to let this play out this season to see if they took a step back. Because let's say they make the playoffs, you know what I mean, and Rob Covington and those guys are good fits, then they really didn't take a step back. It's hard to trade superstar for superstar. It really doesn't happen a lot in the league where you get superstar for superstar. You usually, one team usually gets the short end of the stick. So, but I think it's a great point. It's a way to look at it. I think we have to let this play out a little bit before I can really go 100% with him. I still believe Minnesota did the right thing finally, and I thought that was locking up Karl Anthony Towns with an extension, Andrew Wiggins with an extension. If you go back in the history of Minnesota Timberwolves basketball, which is not great, you go through a span where you couldn't put a great player really around Kevin Garnett, and they did that for 1 year. They got to the Western Conference Finals. Kevin Garnett wins the MVP that year. You look at Kevin Love, who put up huge numbers.
Never went to the playoffs.
You never was able to put anything around, but you lost him. But now to be able to draft 2 number 1 guys and to be able to keep, I know Wiggins came on a trade, but to be able to keep those guys is great. And to sign them and to start building something, to have the fans something to appreciate. So you got to give Tibbs at least that credit. Tibbs is the GM of player basketball. He did sign Karl Anthony Towns to an extension, and he did sign Andrew Wiggins to an extension. So you got to give him a little credit for starting to build something there. Those 2 guys are going to be very good as the season goes along, and they got off to a good start last night. So I'm interested to see how this play out. And I don't know about Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's played in a couple playoff games, and he's been a cancer, man. I know we don't want to keep talking about it.
Yeah, don't beat a dead horse. Don't beat a dead horse.
He's been a cancer, bro.
So
I'm not sold on that yet.
Let me switch over to Carmelo Anthony, a guy who may have played his final game in with Houston. Hadn't played since Thursday, November 8th against Oklahoma City. Last time he played, he was 1 of 11. Around the organization, they saying he's out with an illness. Missed the last 3 games. Not expected to play Thursday against Golden State. I would say it hadn't worked out. He was willing to come off the bench. When you kind of look at some of his numbers, 33% from three-point range, not good. 5 boards, lowest of his career, averaging 0.5 assists. Not a whole assist, a half of an assist in his time. Coming off the bench, 10 games, scored in single digits, 6 out of those 10 games. I've heard some people say that it's time for Carmelo Anthony to retire. That's a wrap, and he's no longer serviceable in this league. I believe you have stood up for Carmelo and talked about he still has some game left in him. Certainly not the star player he once was. Do you think we'll see Carmelo in Houston? Do you think there's another spot for Carmelo if his time in Houston is over?
Well, let me start with this. First of all, the Houston Rockets, the fact that they came out and not necessarily defended, but kind of people blame Carmelo Anthony for Houston's Rockets' slow start is crazy to me. You have an MVP on that team who's off to a bad start. James Harden is off to a horrible start this season. I think he's thrown a couple big games in there over 13, 14 games. He's missed a couple games.
He's been injured, had the hamstring injury.
So he hasn't played real. So when your MVP doesn't play well, you bring in a guy for a minimum deal that you brought in to come off the bench and give you a little punch off the bench. Let's understand Carmelo Anthony's role with the Houston Rockets. It wasn't to come in and average 20 points a game. That's why, in this business, and we're on the side of the fence now, Clement, as media guys, you got to keep it real sometimes. And I hate to hear that. His job wasn't to come in to Houston and save a team that won 65 games last year that was up 3-2 in the Western Conference Finals. His job was to come in and contribute. I thought he did a good job of it. Of course he had a bad game, 1 of 11. One game. He's going to have those. I already told you, he'll have 10 to 15 handful of games where you're going to be like, oh, damn, that's Melo. Well, you're going to get 25. He already had a couple of those already.
Right.
That's what you're going to get from Melo. I don't understand where the fact that everything kind of went on his shoulder. Eric Gordon, in and out, playing horrible. Chris Paul.
Got suspended a couple games.
Chris Paul not playing that well. Those guys are the guys that the nuts and bolts of that team. Carmelo Anthony was brought in to contribute. So when you get a guy coming out the bench at 13, 14 points a game, if James Harden doesn't get hurt, I don't know if Melo minutes would have been where they were at.
Okay.
Right there. So I think that's wrong right there for Houston. And not coming out saying it that way bothers me about management and head coach. But you got to remember, him and D'Antoni's always had problems. Everybody don't take losing well. They were on a losing streak. They were playing bad. They were getting killed. And people cannot handle losing. Rick Pitino, a coach I played for, losing killed him in the NBA. He couldn't take losing. He lost all perspective of basketball because he couldn't take losing. I played with 50, 40 players in 2.5 years with him. That's because he can't take losing. And the Houston Rockets, the expectations were very high that they were going to contend for a title this year. They don't have a title team. When you go sign Michael Carter-Williams, you go sign back Gerald Green, you don't bring anything to the team. They didn't bring any big pieces to their team. You let 2 guys that were very good defensively go, that you held your hat on. Those guys were great role players. They played well with Chris Paul and them. You didn't bring anybody in. Brandon Knight, who you traded for, is hurt. You haven't had him yet. So instead of, okay, we got to go back to the drawing board, it's early in the season, we'll get back on track, and defending Melo, they take a different approach. So I know what Melo is. And I was talking to Rob about this. You think Melo's sick? Illness.
No, he's not sick. They trying to figure out a way to part ways and a landing
You know what
spot.
Melo doing right now? And it's tough. He's got to humble himself. And what's the guy going to be a Hall of Famer? I feel for him. But I'm going to keep it real. My personal opinion, he may think it's wrong. But I think when Melo had a situation off the court, we all know he had a child off the court, he hasn't been the same.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't want to admit to that. They may not bring that up. I'm not in his personal life. But ever since that situation happened, he hasn't been the same.
But
He played well-publicized thing. He played last year without his wife in OKC with him. I mean, these are all things. People got to understand these are all things. You never know what this man is going through. Now, look yourself in the mirror. Melo, first mistake, OKC would have brought him back if he decided to come off the bench. You chose not to do that. You went publicly and said, "Oh, you're not coming off the bench." I saw it happen to Allen Iverson, and I'm gonna leave it at that. We're talking about a Hall of Famer. I'll put both of those guys on the same playing field. Allen Iverson, Memphis Grizzlies. Everybody recall, they signed him. They brought him in. They told him he got to come off the bench, play behind Mike Conley. Allen Iverson went crazy. Didn't work out. Guess what happened after Allen Iverson after that? Couldn't get back in the league. Went to Philly, tried it. That wasn't a team. He still wanted to be the man. They was losing like crazy in Philly.
Yeah.
He couldn't deliver for them. The same thing with Melo. Melo, the problem is Melo's not going to get another shot on a bad team to be the main guy.
Oh no. But I don't think he can be the main guy anymore.
No, he doesn't need not to be. I do believe he still can play in this league. I still believe he has 2-3 years left in him. He still can score. He
So
still
he
can
doesn't need
shoot.
to retire.
He don't need to retire. He needs to find the right fit. And I'm gonna give you one team that's the right fit, and you can puzzle over it. He should go to the San Antonio Spurs. The San Antonio Spurs would be the perfect fit for him. Come off the bench. Pop would be a great coach for him. He's going to defend him 110%. A veteran team with a little mix of young guys. He'd get him a little punch off the bench. And Pop has coached him with all the Olympics. Melo has 4 gold medals. He's a guy who's been around. And get to a good coach, a good organization that helps and defend their players.
And a team that doesn't rely on the 3 ball
right.
as much as every other team, because DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge are 2 of the most guys that shoot mid-range, and that's Melo's thing too.
Yes.
I feel like Melo, his 3-point shooting, that was never his bread and butter. He was always a mid-range guy. So as the NBA has evolved and the mid-range has been eliminated and they try to cast him into a 3-point shooter, whether it's off the pick and roll or a spot up, he has never really excelled in that. And when you solely want him to do that, that becomes a problem.
And they got big guys, Marcus Aldridge, Paul Gasol, guys that can hide him defensively. So when he's not a great defender, but if you're funneling him into some big guys and the systematic defense that the Spurs play, he'll be great fit for them. Pop will be a great coach for him. Pop will put him in situations where he can score. If I'm Melo, you gotta look yourself in the mirror.
Wow.
Just look.
Melo to the Spurs.
Yeah, just look yourself in the mirror. And because you got to think about this. Melo can't go to a team that's rebuilding. You might as well retire because he's not going to help those teams out. But if he's playing for a title, something that he never had before, and he's playing to be on a good playoff team that's going to make a good run, that's the perfect team for him. Melo, if you listening, go get your representation, talk to Pop, see if you can fit in with them, and go over there. When an organization, a team doesn't defend you, and all they say, oh, he's doing all the right things. No, start with the truth. What's going on with that team? He's not the reason. He's not.
But I don't know if they said he was the only reason. He didn't play as well as they would hope.
Nobody's off to a good start though, Clement. It doesn't matter if we're all. It's like if we're all bad, then we all bad together. Right. So it's ways you nip it in the bud. I've never seen losing affect people. You 10 games in. I'm nipping in the bud. It ain't dude's fault. That's it. It's over with. We struggling, everybody. I'm not calling no names out.
Maybe because he's the new guy. And I think so you're saying we all playing bad, but Harden and Paul, they've been here before.
But let's ask
him,
what was he brought there to do? To contribute. Yeah. To get him a little offensive punch. They lost defenders. Mm-hmm. Think about what you picked up. What about Michael Carter Williams? What is he doing? Like, you got to look at these type of situations. All the guys, they just got off to a bad start. I think now they 1 game under 500 now. They got to a bad start. It wasn't like they weren't going to get back into it. I think people's expectations were so high because they won 65 games last year.
And they started losing and the sky was falling.
But it wasn't.
So tell me this, though. You feel like Houston should keep Melo? Like, you feel like they should let this experiment continue?
Yeah, I would definitely play it out. If you don't want him or he doesn't want to be here anymore, then yeah, move him on. But yeah.
Because as it stands right now, Gary Clark, this rookie, it seems like has taken his spot. Like he getting more minutes in the rotation. They feel like he could do more things defensively, and now that pushes Melo farther down in the rotation. And certainly that's not going to make Melo happy.
Well, I mean, if they can't promise Melo minutes where he's going to play 20, 25 minutes a night, I'm pretty sure Melo does not want to be there. And I understand that. But Melo has to look himself in the mirror. Go to a team that's a better fit for you and where your game is right now. Go to the San Antonio Spurs, Melo. Go there and play. Go play with Pop. You play with Pop at the Olympics. You got 4 gold medals. Pop understands he's going to take care of veterans. Do what kind of reminds me of like a Steven Jackson did. And I know he doesn't have the same,
Status?
attitude.
Okay.
Like that. But just go there. Go to one of those situations.
Real quick, I do want to get in LeBron James' milestone. And LeBron did pass Wilt Chamberlain for 5th all-time on the scoring list. LeBron dropped in 44 in the win over the Blazers. He's only 867 points behind Michael Jordan, Antoine, for 4th all-time. LeBron, and when you do the math, they say he could get there in about 31 games. And as a matter of fact, if everything goes according to averages January 15th, the Lakers could play the Bulls, and that could potentially be a game where LeBron passes MJ for 4th all-time. Certainly, LeBron, one of the greatest players we've ever seen. For me, though, I don't even necessarily think of LeBron as an awesome scorer, but to see him 5th all-time and certainly has a chance to pass up Michael Jordan for 4th all-time, your thoughts on that milestone among the greats?
Another great milestone for LeBron James. Congratulations on just another, epic moment in his career. Obviously, it's always special when you do it. He do it in the Lakers uniform. We know what Wilt Chamberlain, means to the Lakers organization. So to be able to do it there is great, and it'll be interesting. I think now it'll be fun to watch to see if LeBron James can actually get to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. 16 years in, you're probably asking to score 2,000 plus points over the next 3-4 years. I think it's something like that.
That's what it takes.
I don't know if he adds a superstar, for a whole nother show. If he has a big name superstar, he may not need 2,000 points, every season for them to be successful. So it'll be interesting. It'll be fun to watch. I think for him it's a great starting point because obviously you're looking for things for in the Laker uniform. And it's the first small, successful thing in the Laker uniform. So it's always good to see. And just to add, the game last night was the first game all season best game he's played since the finals.
Okay.
That he looked like the old LeBron. So that was also good to see. And I think he's figuring out what he needs on the team. I don't think he needs 40. But this may be a different year where he may need 28, 29 points a game for them to be able to win because the competition is so stiff in the Western Conference. So I think you liked a lot about the team last night.
That does it for another episode of the Southside Heat. As always, be sure to download and subscribe. You know where to find us: iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Thanks for listening. We'll be back with you next week.
Yes, sir.